Pigweed here. Today we review a lager and discuss the Trump administration, Week 1. Hello.
Hey, good evening. How about some beer and conversation?
I think that's a great idea. What are you drinking?
Well, Chesterton came up with this new black lager.
No, black lager. There you go.
Right.
Shorts beer.
Yeah, so what's on your mind?
Got a little quiz for you.
Okay.
How does the Trump administration remind me of I Love Lucy?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Ricky was from Cuba, and so there's maybe a communist type, or no, maybe like Guantanamo, or they're both showmen. I don't know.
I like how you think,
okay.
but that isn't it.
That's not it. Okay.
Do you remember the episode when Lucy and Ethel were working in the candy factory?
Yeah.
And there's the conveyor belt that they just can't keep up with.
And they're just stuck up them in their mouth.
Yes.
That's a classic scene.
That's a classic scene.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Doesn't that remind you a little bit of the Trump administration? Like, you can't digest one thing before. You can't even argue.
Right.
And the media's losing their minds because they're used to just one thing.
Yeah.
Everyone gets
Trump's
equally
throwing 100 things at them.
Yes.
Right.
They don't know how. They don't know which hair to set on fire.
Yes.
All right. I'd like to talk about that.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. But first, I'd like to learn about this dark as hell black lager.
It is as called, as advertised. It is dark as hell.
Yeah.
And it's got, as it says in there, it's got Munich malts and what, chocolate malt?
Yeah.
It said chocolate malt. Mm-hmm. It's where you're getting your darkness, and you're supposed to be getting some chocolate notes and coffee notes.
It also said it's decoction mashed, which is interesting. That's a German lager process where you take some of the mash out. Like, in order to increase the temperature of the mash, you take some of the mash out, boil it, put it back in.
Well, grains and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grains and all. Right.
It's not just putting hot water.
That's right. And that changes the character of the beer. But when you do that, by heating up the grains like that, it changes what you get. So this actually,
it seems like it's easier to do on a stovetop. I'm not sure how it makes sense on a stovetop. You just take some of it out. And
how would you do it in
industrial level?
Yeah, when you go to a brewery and you see the big fermenters and all their equipment back there, you wonder how would they do a decoction in that kind of an environment. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a slow process, and just lagering in general.
Yeah,
is a slow process. And this, so what was this? Who's this? Is Jack's Craft Lager? I think that's all they do up there in Farmington, Massachusetts.
Framingham, Massachusetts. You know, I like this. On the tongue, it tastes good, but it also there's a really nice aftertaste to it. It's a roasty, malty, slightly chocolatey aftertaste that you get after you swallow.
But do you okay? So how would that be different than a dark 5% ale? Like, are you getting the lageriness? Because I think I'm
not sure I'm tasting.
I'm not sure if I blind tested. Yeah. I would say,
yeah, if somebody gave me this and said, is this a lager or an ale? Yeah. I'm not sure I could answer.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure I can answer.
Very good.
All right, so Trump, Week 1.
So the company is, like I said, so Fast and Furious that I've got 20 things on my list.
Oh, yeah.
We can't discuss everything.
No.
Some of these I'm just going to give you the thumbs up. I'll say I like it. And a couple of things we need to chew on a little bit. And so what would you like to chew? Let's just go with I think the big one. Last week we discussed Day One. And we discussed the nightmare of the previous 4 years.
Yeah.
What we do not have to look forward to.
Right.
The Harris administration.
Yeah.
What was wrong there? The pardons.
Yeah.
So now let's do Trump's pardons.
Well, we talked about Biden's pardons.
Now Biden's pardons, yes.
Now we have to talk about Trump's pardons.
Specifically.
The January 6th pardons.
Yeah.
And so there's a few things, generally speaking, I'm happy with the way the Trump administration is shaking out. There are a few things that I'm slightly critical of. One of them is I'm not positive that all of the January 6th people should have been pardoned.
Go ahead.
Because a lot of them were just grandmas who were down there, they were invited in by the Capitol Police.
They walked passed a cop through an open door.
Yeah.
Right? So they're got to be thinking.
I know.
They stayed within the ropes and
Yeah.
didn't touch anything.
Didn't touch anything. They just looked around and they left. They didn't do anything violent. So
yes, so you're okay
them,
with this.
Yes. But there were some people who were violent, and I'm not fine with pardoning them. Now the excuse is, oh, it would be hard to go through all of that. Okay, fine. So what you do is you commute everybody's sentence, and then you go through it carefully and you pardon the people who should be pardoned. Okay? I mean, if they hadn't had enough time in the last year or so getting ready for this, okay, I just don't, I'm not thrilled with the idea.
But it seems like in the last 4 years, you would already have enough evidence, or these people wouldn't still be there.
Yes.
So you really wouldn't be that hard.
It seems like they should have enough evidence.
I agree with that because the blanket pardon, I would go with, grandma taking selfies.
Yeah.
And
maybe you can identify the ones that are clearly people who had no criminal record. They weren't accused of anything violent. Okay, pardon those people. The other people will commute their sentence, and then we'll work on it whether we're going to pardon them or not.
Yes.
But, something like that.
You just say, all right, time served.
Yeah.
Because anywhere that there's
because some of these people were real creeps. I mean, honestly.
But quite often though, there's. I mean, think of the George Floyd summer, or just environmental just protests anywhere. There's conflict.
Yes.
Between, and a lot of these people get locked up. Do they all go to? How many go to jail for 4 years?
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, that's why you commute. You just go, yes, time served.
Yes.
I'm not saying you didn't do anything wrong.
Yes.
I'm just saying, wait a minute. I mean,
you've been there long enough. Yeah. So I agree with that. I agree with commuting the sentence, but I'm not sure I agree with the pardon of the violent people. So, okay. So that one's I have a question about. I'm also, I'm not on the RFK Jr. bandwagon.
Yeah.
What I really want is I absolutely want somebody to get in there and question what we're doing with our food, to question the role of Big Pharma. I want to, get rid of this ridiculous situation where, Big Pharma tells us to do something and then now respect the science and all that kind of crap. So I absolutely want somebody to get in there and question all those things. I'm just not sure RFK is the right guy for that job.
And Admiral Levine, probably not. You're not making that argument.
No. I just, I like directionally where he's trying to go in certain respects, but RFK Jr. is not an admirable person in a lot of ways, and so I'm not thrilled about that. So those are two, and then the third one that I have some minor disagreement with is postponing the TikTok ban. I'm not sure about that one, but anyway. So I mean, those are relatively minor criticisms.
Yes. And now, so some of these, yes, like I said, some of these we'll let's group some of these things because there are lots of items that just fall under a category.
Yeah.
And then some are one-offs. Like the one flag policy on federal buildings. All right. Yes. I mean, come on.
Okay. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Done. So we have immigration. It's obviously a big one.
Yes, let's might as well start there. I love. Don't you remember this? The 3.5 million people that were deported by Obama. Remember all of the crying and gnashing and wailing?
Right.
Every night on TV, there were families who were crying at the border.
The only time I remember there being crying and wailing and gnashing of teeth was under Bill Clinton when they broke into the house and pointed automatic weapons at that little kid. Yeah. Remember that?
Yes, Gonzalez,
Elian Gonzalez.
Yes, and there's the picture there, and Janet Reno.
Poor kid scared to death. These soldiers basically coming in and threatening him with weapons.
Sending him to a communist country. The only time anybody worried about deportation.
Yeah, but under Obama, you're right. He deported quite a lot of people, and we did not hear all this wailing and gnashing of teeth, which goes to show you that it's all performative nonsense. It's not based on principle or anything. It's just if Trump did it, it's bad. If Obama did it, it's good, or vice versa.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So here we go. Tom is he won't shy away from an interview.
Oh, he is amazing. That guy is a bulldog.
He's great.
He's great. Yeah, I remember seeing a clip of him and talking to AOC. And it was like a stupid Smurf talking to a intelligent bulldog. It was like, wow. She would say, well, they didn't break any law. And then he would just say, exactly which law they broke, and
it is. And
what about this? Well, they could have come through the port of entry. He just he knew his facts. He had them all prepared on the tip of his tongue. He knew exactly what to say, and he wasn't taking any of our crap.
I'm so sick of Republicans trying to be liked.
Oh, I know.
That now it's just like we don't care if the media doesn't like us, and this goes all the way to the press secretary.
Yeah.
But hold on, let me finish up here. We've got yes, we're picking people up and we're shipping them out.
Yeah.
Starting with the criminals.
Yes.
Although I don't really know if ICE knows that there are criminals in your neighborhood. Your local cops don't care, and your local politicians don't care that you have convicted criminals in the neighborhood.
Mrs. Crow,
if they were not citizens, you'd pick them up.
Yeah, Mrs. Crow was telling me about an article she was reading in Maryland, where ICE is coming in and finding these people who are murderers and rapists and do all these kind of things, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Why aren't those guys in jail? I mean, let's aside the question of sending them out back to Mexico or wherever they came from. Why aren't they at least in jail?
Are they out on bail awaiting sentencing? Have they already served their sentence and we want to send them back? Or have they literally committed the crime and then the judge says, your sentence is go home?
Yeah, your sentence because you belong to the special sanctified class of illegal alien. Therefore, none of the normal rules apply.
That apply to actual citizens.
Yes. None of the rules apply to you. Oh, you just get to go home. That's fine. We don't want to bother you. Yeah, and by the way, here's a free phone, and can we pay your bill at the hotel? How about that? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Now, so declaring a national emergency at the Mexico border, that's key. Declaring Tren de Aragua and certain international cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. That was
okay.
key.
Wait a minute. So those two things there, I think, lead to I forgot my notes. What's it called? The comas paritatis.
Comas paritatis, whatever.
Yes, which means you
can't use the military on domestic soil. Okay. Posse comitatus.
Yes. So I'm guessing that those two things that you just mentioned is how you can use, like if you've declared an emergency and you declare that there are terrorists at the door, is that what gives you the ability? Because he says he's putting actual armed
soldiers down there.
Soldiers.
So here it says the Posse Comitatus Act prohibits the armed forces from being used to enforce laws within the United States. So what about at the border? I mean, it would be one thing to send the military around into Chicago to collect illegal immigrants. That would clearly violate Posse Comitatus, I think.
I see, but once you've declared an enemy invasion.
Yeah, but if you're putting them on the border and their job is to put up barbed wire and to build the wall and to, not allow people to cross the Rio Grande and that sort of thing. I don't see how that violates. I'm obviously not an expert on Posse Comitatus, but
I haven't heard anybody bring it up, and maybe it's designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and a national emergency and a foreign invasion is how you get around
probably
that. And so that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that's what's going on there, and this is something that should have been done a long time ago. Like, why are we allowing these foreign cartels, which run Mexico in some respects? Why would we not declare them terrorist organizations?
Now, would that give you the right to encroach on their borders?
I don't think so.
Can you now send in the SEALs?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't like this idea that just because we believe there's a terrorist in some other country that we can go bomb them or something.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That's been something that presidents have been doing, Republican and Democrat presidents have been doing. And I don't think that's right. We need to get the approval of the country that they're in before we go do something like that.
Yeah, right. I mean, Obama droned an American citizen.
Right.
On who was probably a piece of crap, and we're all better off that he's gone.
Yeah.
But,
but if some horrible person is hanging out in Mexico, well, then we need to work with the Mexican government. We can't just on our own go and, go in there and take... That's not right.
That's not how it works.
I mean, it can work that way, but that's just us being a bully. Yeah.
Now, if you could get them to cooperate, and if Mexico was to say, you know what, there are no-go zones in Mexico that our military is not equipped to handle.
And if they said, we'll
would you
take
mind?
your help, yeah.
And they said, no, thank you very much. We do not mind.
Yeah. So, yeah, if there's an agreement with the Mexican government.
Not with this communist.
If there's an agreement with the Mexican government. But, yeah, who's the president of Mexico right now?
All right, so in this, let's stick with this here.
Yeah.
Trump versus sanctuary cities.
Oh, yes.
So, and sanctuary. So, remember, I'm old enough to remember when Arizona and Texas said, well, we need to enforce our border. The federal government came in and said, that's not your job, that's our job.
Yes.
They said,
we won't do it, but it's still our job.
Okay, do it. And they said, no.
It's our job. We won't do it, but it's our job.
Well, now that Trump is the federal government, now it's a state issue in their minds. Mm-hmm. It's like a city ordinance.
Yeah. There is no principle in politics. It's just whose ox is being gored. It's just, you use one argument one day and you use the exact opposite argument the next day.
So they're being called into Congress, or the mayors of various cities, to explain themselves. And to what degree can you? I mean, there's not cooperating, and then there's impeding.
Right. Yes.
Right. So if they went to the door of a local jail and said, we know you've got Abdul Ramirez in here, and we want him.
Yeah.
I mean, could they say, well, we're not turning him over?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, that would be an interesting legal question, but I don't know how they can. You're right. There is an important distinction between not cooperating and trying to obstruct.
Yeah.
Trying to obstruct would clearly be illegal, but not cooperating, I guess that's their right to do that. Let's say, for example, there's a neighborhood.
But to the point. I mean, back to the point. Would not actively cooperating is one thing, but to say we want that guy. Mm-hmm. Are they just going to say no? And then what would happen? The U.S. Marshals, would they kick the door down of the sheriff's department?
I don't think they would go into a facility like that. I think it's more likely that they would try to capture the person at their home or at their place of work or something like that.
But they're right there. You know where they are. Wow. I say, what you got to post a guy out front waiting for him to get released, or you know what I mean?
It's a little silly. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be for it. And, but once you get to the position of federal cops arresting local cops,
that's
it could
bad.
get ugly.
That's a bad
thing.
I
mean, now,
we don't want that.
Arresting a mayor, I'm probably okay with that. But we'll find out. I mean, with this hearing is supposed to be about. Like, all right, so
where's the limits?
Yeah,
so what about birthright citizenship? That's in this category.
I tell you what, I just, when people just say, well, it's right there in the 14th Amendment, I'm like, all right, I guess it's right there in the 14th Amendment, until I heard it argued. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, this ain't so rock solid. I mean, I imagine some...
I don't think it's very explicitly clear in the language, and it's certainly not explicitly clear in the history of the 14th Amendment and what it was originally passed to do.
Absolutely not.
Because what it says is everyone born or naturalized in the United States or subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Well, somebody who just happens to be here is not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They just happen to be here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think if you're an ambassador, right? If you're an ambassador, your kid born here doesn't become a citizen.
Shouldn't. Yeah, because you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States.
Yeah.
And if you just happen to be traveling,
passing through, good and pregnant.
Yeah,
and you drop one in the airport.
For some reason, the plane gets delayed, and you have to go to the hospital and have a baby. Why should that baby be a United States? Because you're a citizen of some other place.
Right. So is it curious at all that this is in 1868? Right?
No,
why would that be?
Yeah, the whole purpose of it was to say that slaves who are born, naturalized, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States are citizens. That was the purpose of the 14th Amendment.
Because they're not subject to the jurisdiction of anywhere else.
Right. It's not like they were Canadians or something. They were Americans. And the point of the amendment was to say these people are citizens.
Right. Because I think, some people wanted to deny citizenship. And then what are they? I mean, if they're not, back when they were property, they weren't citizens. Well, they're not property anymore. Well, what are they? Right. So we resolve the problem here. Yeah, and suddenly now this applies to any passer through.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
So
It's stupid policy. It's stupid policy, and as far as I can tell, it rests on a stupid interpretation.
Well,
of
is
the
it
law.
going to survive the Supreme Court?
I don't know.
And
I don't trust Roberts, and I don't trust Barrett.
Yeah.
So
now,
I'm not
what
sure.
if you amend the amendment? Would there be enough support? What is it? 60% of the state legislatures?
I think it's very hard to get a constitutional amendment. Very hard. And I know some people have talked about having a convention of states to amend the Constitution. I'm afraid you never know. It's kind of like, we had the Articles of Confederation, and they put together this constitutional convention to come up with the Constitution. And the idea was just to like gently amend the Articles of Confederation. And they come up with this radically whole new thing, the Constitution. And I like the Constitution, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But once you get that ball in motion, you can't stop it. And who knows what you're going to get out of that. Yeah. So anyway, birthright citizenship, I'm like, absolutely end it. It's stupid policy, and I think they can win.
But even still, that doesn't give the parents any rights. So you're going to say, all right, you're being deported. The kid can stay if you've got a place. I mean, if you want to give him to a cousin
relative,
that lives here, if you're so cruel that you'll just turn him over to CPS and have him be adopted in some foster care you'll never know about, that. And if the kid, when the kid becomes 18 and wants to apply, you'll go probably to the front of the line because if you want to do that, but you get to stay here because we don't want to deport the kid. You take the kid. You're going, and you take the kid with you or not. So that seems like the first thing that you do is the anchor baby, I guess, as they say.
Yeah. All right. So move on to energy and environment.
Oh, hold on. I got Gitmo.
Okay.
Back to the Ricky Ricardo.
Okay.
Here.
Yes.
So what do you know? I mean, now we've got 30,000 beds in Gitmo for, they say, the worst of the worst. So I don't think it's like a staging area before you send them back. I think it's for them to serve their actual time, because like we said before, it's like you can't commit a crime and then the punishment is a free ride back to your country. You still need to...
Is that what it is? I'm not sure. I know that the left is going to try to characterize this as, like what we did to the Japanese or internment camps or
we're in the
1930s. Yeah. So I know that's what the left is going to try to say about these things. Now, my understanding, based on, I didn't look at this carefully, but my understanding is that it's just a temporary thing. When we're trying to get somebody out of the United States to someplace else, we might hold them in Gitmo for a little while before we are able to work out the details of getting them into some other country.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way that Trump said it, he said, these are the worst people, and we want them away from us, and these are people that you don't want to send back. That's what he said. We don't want the worst going back to their countries and then making their way back again.
Oh, huh.
So anyway, we got 30,000 beds down there. Might as well use them.
That will be interesting to see how that plays out, because I don't know. I mean, they're not citizens. So it's not like we owe them a whole lot, No.
Yeah. But I like, So I would look at it this way: if you can't not punish them, of course, minor stuff. You know what I mean? If you're just a car thief, we'll just kick you out of the country.
Right. Yeah.
If you do something serious, well, you're gonna have to suffer, and maybe like they have the that range, the judge's discretion, which is 10 to 25 years.
Right.
Give them the 10,
and
then kick them out, and then leave them in Guantanamo for the 10.
All right, so I think we need to go through some with just thumbs up. Like national energy emergency, I'm giving it a thumbs up. Paused offshore wind leasing, thumbs up. Withdraw from Paris Climate Agreement, thumbs up.
All right.
Restart application reviews for liquefied natural gas exports, thumbs up.
Yep, all the energy stuff.
The energy stuff. Get rid of the stupid
Alaska,
Biden goal of U.S. vehicle sales.
I was talking to somebody about that. We're going to spoil Alaska. Alaska's like half the size of the continental United States.
I know, it's
You
huge.
don't think you can carve out 10 acres somewhere in a road to drill?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Not, and they say it's all sensitive. Baloney, it's sensitive. Okay, how about this one? Well, this one isn't an energy environment. Recognize two sexes, male and female, on official documents.
All right, let's get into a little bit of the cultural stuff in terms of DEI and trans stuff.
Yeah, so getting rid of DEI is absolutely necessary. I mean, DEI is just discrimination, and it's wrong, and we need to get rid of it, and he's doing that, and that's fantastic.
It's simple, and now there's all these. I mean, how many recent graduates were out there looking at their six-figure incomes because every department, every company was being browbeaten into having a DEI department, and then they realized how expensive and useless and finally illegal.
Yeah, and now they're all disappearing, which is great.
I think so. In a broad sense, except for the people that you would expect, the TV types who set their hair on fire, I'm seeing surprisingly little hair on outrage. I think what's going on is, I mean, don't you know a lot of Democrats? I know mostly Democrats.
Yeah.
They're not They're not Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid types.
No.
They're just normal people.
Yeah.
And who have been like, well, my choices are Trump or get on board with DEI and trans stuff. And so they decided to get on board. And now that it's going away, I think they're quietly going, oh, shucks, I guess, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I think there's a little of that going on.
I think there is definitely some of that going on, because right now, Trump's approval, what's that thing where they compare approval to disapproval? Right. And they give you a plus or a minus rating? Trump is up like 15 percentage points, and Democrats are down 15 percentage points. It's I think pretty bad.
I think this is like the normies going, I wasn't really big on the surgery for the children and discriminating against my white sons when they try to get a job.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of Democrats who were like, I'm pro-union. I like government programs. I'm in favor of big government. I'm in favor of regulation, that sort of stuff. But when you get to this point where you're doing this DEI stuff and denying reality and all this other crazy stuff, I'm not really for that. It's kind of like, just because you're a Republican, which I'm not, but just because you're a Republican doesn't mean that you're in favor of what's the TV show with the girls with the hats and.
The
Handmaid's Tale. That's right. Yeah. So when things get to be on the extreme side, the majority of the country is not extreme. The majority of the country is in the squishy middle.
And I think that Trump has given people, even Democrats, room to go, yeah, that was a little too much. Mm-hmm. And so all right, let's finish DEI then before we get to
yeah.
So,
okay.
So it's all being gutted. First, that's tons of money. Yeah. And it's just plain. I don't know how
it's just plain flat discrimination.
It's just plain discrimination.
Yeah, it's just wrong.
It's right. It's the opposite of the Equal Rights Amendment. Oh, not the Civil Rights Amendment.
Yes.
You actually can and will, by definition, discriminate on the basis
of sex or race or whatever.
Whatever.
It's crazy. It's just absolutely straightforwardly illegal and wrong. And I'm glad that.
I think that the revenge of the normies is going to be. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a Trumper. Don't call me that. But that's not so bad.
All right. So trans. If somebody now. Generally speaking, I think the whole trying to become if you're a woman trying to become a man, if you're a man trying to become, as a general statement, I would just say that's a bunch of nonsense. Forget it. However, I can kind of go along with the idea that if you're an adult and you want to do that, that's your business. I can kind of go along with that. However, I absolutely cannot go along with the idea of doing this to children.
Right. So we'll start off there. We've been doing this for a few years now, and I know we've always been. We're going to come out of this like the satanic panic of the 90s.
Exactly.
Looking
5
back
years
and
from now, people are going to look back and go, "What the heck were we thinking?"
And just like the satanic panic, you had people. Well. Worse than the satanic panic, you could look back and go, oh, I can't believe I put my uncle in jail for 12 years.
Right.
But you know what? You can still let the uncle out.
Yes.
You can't undo the surgery.
Exactly. It's not just the surgery. It's drugs and surgery.
Sterilization.
And basically what you're doing is you're disrupting the natural development of the child.
And who knows how that mentally how that if you ever recover from that.
Yeah. And so a lot of kids apparently go through some level of gender confusion, and they usually grow out of it. And some of them, one of the kind of funny things about this is, in a way, the whole trans thing is an anti-gay thing, because a lot of the kids who are boys who think that they're girls just turn out to be homosexual men.
Yeah, well, yes, homosexual men go, I'm glad these creeps weren't around when I was a when I was a girly little boy.
Yes.
They would have told me that I actually was a girl. Yeah. And I'm just gay.
Yes. So in a lot of ways, it's funny that some people in the gay community are like, this trans stuff is anti-gay.
Well, yes, I mean, so I would say these are the gay normies who are now finally get the space to say, yeah, we never wanted we were fine with LGB. And then once you thrust the T's in there and whatever else, we were forced to, then we would be kicked out of our own LGB community for not accepting the T's.
But this idea of some girl is confused about her sex, and I hate it when people say
she's tomboy and she likes climbing trees and playing sports.
Exactly. So she's confused, or she's been abused, or she has some issue going on, whatever it is, and you say, okay, we're going to give you drugs that's going to disrupt your natural development, and then we're going to cut off your breasts. I mean, that's just barbaric. It's horrible. These people should be in jail.
And it would never get that far if the parents weren't going along with it.
Yes.
So first the parents, then the doctors. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at jail time. I'm okay with that.
Absolutely jail time.
And of course, no funding of this, and no broadcasting this to other countries.
Right.
It's like other countries. They want partnerships. They don't want to be lectured by a
bunch of weirdos.
Hanging rainbow flags.
Yeah, absolutely jail time, especially for the doctors. But
the hospitals
and maybe the parents. I mean, it's absolutely criminal what's been done to these people. All right, so executive orders affecting federal workers. So I learned something interesting about this today. What we've been told is that federal workers have been given this offer that they can resign and get paid for the next 8 months to do nothing.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's not really the case. A federal worker this morning at the swimming pool told me, well, that's only true if the agency is willing to let you go. If the agency says that, no, you're a vital employee, we need to have you here, then all you've basically done is resigned 8 months from now, effective today. You said I'm going to resign at this point, but you still have to work. So it's not quite the great deal that it sounds like it is.
And it also seems like if you have, the agency should also be able to designate important senior workers who can't be easily replaced.
Yeah.
And you go, it doesn't apply to you. All this dead wood over here, you guys can feel free to come or to stay or not stay.
Yes.
But we are going to reserve you. You're the only one that knows where the keys are kept. Right. So, we're going to keep you.
And there had to be some sort of, because you can't give such an incentive for people to leave and then all of a sudden gut, because what's going to happen? You're going to gut all the agencies of the people who have any brains, right? Because you say, you're going to pay me for 8 months and I don't have to do anything? That's a great deal. I'll take a month vacation and I'll start looking for a job.
And they'll be low-level people, because if you've got 18 years and you're 2 years away from your hitting your retirement,
you're not going
anywhere. Right. So it's going to be lower level, inexperienced, and I'm all for it. Except those sons of bees are going to be on the highway going to work in D.C. when I'm trying to go to work in D.C.
I know. We need to clear up the parkways.
I mean, it's already jammed. I can't believe they said. Did you hear this number? They said 6% of federal workers are going to work.
Wow, 6%.
You're telling me there's tens of thousands of people who are out there who are working from home who are now going to be clogging my highways.
I don't like that.
And then there are people. There's one woman, hey, boo-hoo, who took advantage of the whole thing, moved an hour and a half away,
Yes.
and is now crying that she's going to have a 3-hour commute every day.
Yeah. Well,
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
That's what happens now.
Nothing
There
lasts
are a lot
forever,
of-
so yeah.
I mean, if all you're doing is entering data into a computer or something, I mean, you really can do that at home.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to work.
Yeah, I don't
work
like-
some of that, and then you just say, all right, we don't need all this space, and then the government stops paying. And then you consolidate your office work and
Yeah.
lease out the rest to
The other side of this whole question of return to work is the cities are saying we need, like
Yes.
Washington D.C. is saying, look, our restaurants are dying because there's
the
nobody
lunch
around.
crowd. Where do you think they come from?
That's right.
They're all federal workers.
That's right. Yeah, and people coming down there using the facilities, other things. All right. What about this one? Pulling the U.S. from the World Health Organization.
Probably. I mean, I don't know enough about it
Yeah.
except for we're overpaying for. I mean, it seems like you should be paying in proportion to your population.
Yeah.
And that's not going on.
Right.
And plus, they're in cahoots with the whole New World Order and globalization. They want
Yeah.
worldwide standards.
I know. Yeah.
So,
I have mixed
I don't know
feelings
what
about
we
it.
get
I have
about
mixed
it.
feelings about
I
it
don't
as
know
well.
what we get with that.
Reinstate military members who were dismissed because they refused to receive the COVID vaccine.
Hell yeah.
I like it directionally, but these people have been out of service for a few years, and they're supposed to come back with back pay, which is a sweet deal. But are they going to be even able to get back into the job effectively?
Yeah.
Now, but it's the good thing about it is right now we have a recruitment problem. And this is going to bring back it's going to bring back a bunch of conservatives into the military, which is probably a good thing.
Yes. All right, so this returns me to the trans issue, and I have two questions here. There are 15,000 trannies.
In the military.
There are 15,000 men wearing dresses and women pretending to be men.
I'm not sure I believe
So
it.
so you have to. So if you're getting rid of them, you got 15,000. 8,000 is only going to cover half of them. So so I'm all for that. How do we end up with 15,000? I mean, if you've got a bad shoulder, you can't get into the military.
Yeah.
If you've had knee surgery,
Yeah.
you can. But you can think that you're a woman, and that's not disqualifying.
It's pretty bizarre.
So yeah, I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
Check.
Pretty bizarre. How about redesignating the Houthi rebels as a terrorist organization? That's
Yeah,
a big
that's
thumbs
easy.
up. Yeah. Ordering review of trade practices and agreements, obviously.
Yeah.
Revoking security clearances of the guys who said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, absolutely.
All day.
Why in the world not do that? Suspending TikTok, we talked about that. Oh, asking federal buildings to be beautiful. Some of those federal buildings are very beautiful, and some of them look hideous. It's really
the old ones when the whole idea was to stick with the classical nature of the U.S. Capitol.
Right.
Those things are great, and then you get this utilitarian.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about the JFK, MLK, RFK declassification of the documents?
I don't know. What are you hiding back there?
I know. So it's been 65 years or
I
something.
know.
So clearly, the people who were involved have gone, right? Although I hear Sirhan is still alive in prison somewhere.
Is that so?
Yeah, that's what I hear. But I'm in favor of it, but I don't think it's actually going to come out. I think the deep state, the CIA, is going to sneak in there, and they're going to cover up more stuff. I don't think it's going to be a full release. I don't think we're going to get everything we want to get. That's my
okay.
Okay, so what else have you got?
I had a couple of shorties here.
Okay.
Why does it take the federal government to come in to say send your water to the people that need it and not to the Pacific Ocean?
Because they're protecting some stupid little fish.
So anyway, fix that. All right, no security detail for Fauci. All right.
Yeah, whatever.
We don't
Okay.
need that. deporting non-citizen supporters of Hamas/terrorists.
Yeah, to me that depends on what you mean by support. If support means that they're saying things in support of them, then I'm totally not in favor of that. If support means that they're doing something illegal, if they're breaking the law, absolutely get them out of here.
But my understanding is if they, deface a monument, a crime of any type,
Yeah.
which, shove a cop,
Yeah.
a crime of any type, I don't think simply vocalizing, I would like to think that if you're a non-citizen and you say death to America, that kind of should be enough to get you kicked out.
Is there any country in the world where I can go there and deface their monuments and they're going to say, yeah, fine, stay?
Gaza, could you do that?
There's no country in the world that would put up with that crap.
No.
And
there aren't even any laws against it. They would just kill you.
Well, they'd kick you out. They'd send you back. So if somebody defaces a monument, get them out of here.
The university.
If they're just standing up on a box with a bullhorn and saying, go Hamas or whatever, fine. You can say whatever you want. But if you break the law, you're done. That's
put them on a watch list.
Yeah. All right, what else you got? UNRWA.
UNRWA. This is the easiest one of all.
I know. Good grief.
Why are we financing
an organization that's helping the terrorists? It's so crazy.
How about money going to the Taliban?
I know. Yeah. Why were we giving money to the Taliban?
We're giving them millions of dollars and had to do a prisoner swap exchange to get back our own citizens.
Yeah,
How about zero money and we're going to kill everybody in your country if you don't give us our... I
don't understand the whole negotiating with the terrorist things. Like, the way I would negotiate with the terrorists is I'd say, yeah, okay, fine, let's all get in this room. You guys are terrorists? Kill them. Why are you negotiating with these people? I don't get it at all.
So they're just talking about cutting off, pausing the aid, and the loans and grants to everything.
Yeah.
Except for direct payments to individuals.
Yes.
While you reassess, is this money being well spent?
Because we know that we're spending tons of money on all kinds of stupid things.
Somebody said, actually, we've been doing UBI all along.
Yes.
We're just giving money to organizations who are paying people to either do nothing or do something not in the interest of the United States, such as Catholic Charities and all these other religious organizations who are being paid to
violate our rules on immigration.
So
just
pause.
cut that out. Stop. Don't spend that money. Reevaluate it.
How about Haiti? Haiti says that accepting Haitians will be a disaster for Haiti. Well, I think you've made the point for us.
Yes.
That's what. It would be disastrous. Or one of them said, Mexico can't absorb 1 million people. No country could.
Then why did you send
No country could?
Including us.
I remember asking, Mrs. Bigwig, sort of sympathetic to Mexicans coming to the United States, being one. I'm like, what if 1 million Chinese people moved into Mexico, went to your schools, went to your hospitals?
Yeah. What would you do?
We're doing jobs.
Yeah.
Do you think you'd be okay with that? And she admits and said, no, they would not. And in fact, unlike here, if you let the Chinese in and they become citizens, they become Americans, third generation Chinese would not be considered Mexicans.
Sure. Yeah.
That's just not how the way they think about themselves. And
every country in the world is far more racist than the United States. Absolutely, totally. Okay, what else you got on your list there?
I'm sure I've got something here. Well, okay, Stargate. I thought that was interesting.
So that's a response to deep fake or deep seek or whatever.
Well, no. I mean, this is deep seek started. This was actually before. And the whole idea is, look, we have to maintain our AI advantage, and we have. So they're going to build. I mean, these sites that they're talking about. So this is SoftBank from Asia.
Yeah.
Plus, Silicon Valley types.
Right.
Build these massive centers because it takes
these things take tons of energy. They take tons of computing power to do all this stuff for AI. And
so they've got like $500 billion and everybody on board to maintain the strategic advantage which only lasted a couple of days.
Yeah,
So what's the DeepSeek?
and then all of a sudden DeepSeek comes out and claims that they did this amazing thing using crappier chips
Yes.
and spending less money to train it. Now that's the claim,
Yes.
and I'm not. The question is whether that's going to hold up. Yeah, because
Have we
it's very
confirmed that, or
likely-
is this just Chinese talk?
Yeah, it's very likely that they stole some of our technology, that they trained themselves on ChatGPT or on Perplexity or some other American AI. But still, from people who know more about AI than I do, it is a huge leap forward what they were able to accomplish. So it is going to be. This is kind of like the new space race.
Yeah.
And people have called DeepSeek like their Sputnik moment.
Yeah.
Where they've leapt ahead, and now
We didn't think that they could do it, and now they're in front of us.
Yeah, and we better get on the ball here.
Right. So the idea was that these.
Let's hurry up and head our way to Terminator.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
How about the 22nd Amendment?
Sorry, you lost me. 22nd Amendment.
President can only serve 2 terms.
Oh. I think that's all just trying to make that's like poking the bear.
A little bit. But what if you don't go back to Franklin Roosevelt, you say you can serve 3 non-consecutive terms.
Yes.
That's how you would get around that.
So that Obama
what are the
couldn't,
chances
yeah.
that you actually under the new 20 I don't know, what are we up to now, 27?
I don't know. So apparently this was worded so carefully that Obama would not be able to serve again, but
Right,
that Trump would be.
So you can serve 3 non-consecutive within 1 term.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's not going anywhere, and I don't want it to
not
go
going
anywhere.
anywhere.
But I'm pretty sure that all that talk is just poking the bear. And look, I mean, it's so easy. It's so easy to get liberals to get their hair caught on fire. It's so easy. And
they don't even know it.
Yeah.
They don't even see it.
I know. It's like you're so unstable. Can you please just not yell and scream with your hair on fire for 5 minutes, please, Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah.
No, they can't.
Right.
They're just crazy.
All right. So the last thing I would like to. I'm trying to keep up with the chocolates here.
Yeah.
The last chocolate to drop was I finally is seeing the press secretary Caroline Leavitt. Talk about your upgrades. I mean, how about Barron and Hunter? You're okay with that upgrade there? But she's killing it now. I heard she was 27. I also heard she was 29.
I heard 27. Yeah. But she, compared to Corinne Jean-Pierre, she's so much smarter and very well. She did a fantastic job in her first thing. We'll have to see how she does. But
she didn't say. So to be clear, and after every question,
that's right.
Biden has clearly stated none of these things have ever happened.
So remember, in the first Trump administration, he had that who's the other hot blonde that he had as a White House spokeswoman?
I remember Sarah Huckabee.
No, before her, there was. She's a commentator on some network now. But Trump has a penchant for hiring some attractive blonde who's smart as a whip,
right,
to be press secretary, and she's doing a really good job.
I think she's doing a great job. She's already. So they set a new tone. The whole thing in there, it goes back to we're not playing nice.
Yeah.
With the media anymore.
Yeah. That I think is so. Trump, when he first came in first term, he wanted to be liked. That's his personality. He wanted to be liked, and he had to learn that they're never going to like you.
Right.
He had to learn that. Sorry, you just have to get rid of that. They're not going to like you. Get over it. Move on. He finally learned that lesson, and I think Republicans are starting to learn that lesson as well. We're not here to be liked. We're here to do certain things. Don't care if you like me. This is what we're going to do.
Right. And the other thing, we're going to we're going to sidestep 1 foot to the right of every Democrat position, and then call ourselves conservatives.
Exactly. And Trump is saying, no, we're just going to go the opposite direction.
Yes, we're going to cancel all of that stuff.
We're just going to turn the whole thing on its head.
So we last discussed about moving the Overton window
Yeah.
and setting a new tone, because you could say, yeah, well, this is only going to last 4 years, and then all the trans DEI stuff will just come right. They can just executive order their way right back in.
Yeah.
Not after you've broken the spirit and
Yes.
the will, and
Yeah.
you've set a new tone, and
Yes.
America has a different view of is allowed to think freely again.
Yeah. Once
So,
once you've said the emperor has no clothes,
Yes.
it's kind of hard to go back to saying that. Boy, you look
But
beautiful.
but he
in those
doesn't
clothes.
have. I mean, he's.
But look, it's actually a beautiful
Again,
blue
he is
gown.
naked, but not naked again. No,
Yeah.
we already did that, and we're not buying.
I
So
think you're right.
There's some of
I
that.
think there's a certain amount of once you've burst the bubble, it's done.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So
All
week
right.
one is amazing.
I can't keep up with the chocolates.
That's too much. All right. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.